He once hated me, looked at me with disdain and coldness. But then he lost his memory. And everything changed. The same emperor who scorned me now sees me in a completely new light. Every glance, every word, every touch, he can't get enough of me. And I watch him fall, little by little, completely, helplessly in love. The emperor accidentally hit his head and lost all memories related to me. When I rushed to the hall of diligent governance, I heard him shouting emotionally at my father. "Are you telling me I actually made the daughter of an old fox like you my empress? Impossible, absolutely impossible. No, I must depose the empress." Holding back my tears, I walked inside. He stared at me and sharply inhaled. "This one is good. I will make her my empress." Me, already the empress?
1.
When I hurried to the hall of diligent governance, I heard my father and Li Jingye arguing inside. In all my years, I had never seen my father this angry. "I told you not to try that backflip performance, but you just wouldn't listen. You insisted on doing it. Well, look at you now, you flipped yourself straight into an idiot. And you even said you'd use that move to coax." Li Jingye was sitting on the dragon throne, a fresh red bruise still on his forehead. He looked dazed for a moment before finally coming to his senses and cutting my father off. "Me? The son of heaven, performing backflips for you, a mere prime minister? Do you think anyone would believe that?" My father shot him an irritated look. "True, no one would dare believe it. Yet you dared to do it. If I hadn't stopped you, you were even planning to kowtow to me next." Li Jingye widened his eyes in disbelief. "Why don't you just say you're my biological father while you're at it?" My father fell silent for a few seconds. "Your biological father?"
No.
"At most, I'm your father-in-law." Li Jingye's immediate reaction was, "Guards, drag this fraud, this lunatic, out of the hall." The eunuchs nearby hurriedly dropped to their knees, trembling as they tried to stop him. "Why, Your Majesty, the Prime Minister truly is the Empress's father. Have you really forgotten everything?" Li Jingye exploded at once. How could I possibly have made the daughter of this old fox my empress? Did he force me into it? No, wait. Since when do I even have an empress? At those words, my father was so furious that the few remaining strands of his beard practically stood on end. He began speaking sarcastically. "I wonder who it was that came running to me every day with imperial censers in tow, performing chest smashing with a boulder axe in front of my door just because I wouldn't agree to marry my daughter to him. Humph, the mighty son of heaven, my foot. The empire is still standing only because the late emperor laid such a solid foundation." Li Jingye still refused to believe it. "Are you getting back at me for shaving off your beard and sticking it to your bald head when I was a child? Is that why you made your daughter my empress?" "No, absolutely not. I must depose the empress." The moment I heard the words, "depose the empress," my steps froze at the doorway. The golden tassel hairpin in my hair trembled and rattled because of my loss of composure, as if voicing my silent protest. All the worry I had been holding in my heart instantly turned into overwhelming grievance, surging up into my eyes. Tears fell soundlessly, like pearls slipping off a broken string. My disheveled, pitiful appearance happened to meet Li Jingye's gaze as he looked up at the sound. The vast hall fell completely silent for a moment. Then his sharp intake of breath echoed through the chamber. He stared at me intently. His usually deep and unreadable eyes, so unfathomable in front of the court officials, were now wide open and round. That look was a bit like the expression he wore when seeing a freshly served plate of sizzling roasted lamb from the imperial kitchen, bright, eager, and fixed. His handsome and dignified face suddenly showed a trace of foolishness. Just as my father's beard began twitching again in anger, and he prepared to continue scolding, Li Jingye abruptly slapped the armrest of the dragon throne and loudly declared, "This one is good. I will make her my empress." Me?
2.
To that, my father had only one comment. The late emperor's foundation was built a little too solidly. 3. I stood where I was, thinking for a few seconds, trying to follow Li Jingye's train of thought. "Make me your empress?" He nodded seriously and firmly. Then, hearing the way I addressed myself, he suddenly reacted. "Which consort of my harem are you?" "Wait, hold on, do I even have consorts in my harem?" In Li Jingye's eyes, I saw nothing but unfamiliarity toward me. The tears I had suppressed once again gathered in my eyes. They were on the verge of falling. Li Jingye panicked. "Don't cry. Didn't I just say I'd make you empress? That's a good thing." My father spoke up coolly from the side. "Thank you, Your Majesty, but my daughter has already been empress for a whole year. No need for you to trouble yourself with another enthronement ceremony." Hearing this, Li Jingye looked as though his entire worldview had collapsed. His eyes fixed on me. "You are my empress?" With tear-filled eyes, I looked up at him. A single tear hung perfectly at the tip of my eyelashes, ready to fall. "Former empress," my father corrected him coldly. Li Jingye choked on his words, wanting to say something to explain himself. But he was interrupted by the imperial physicians who came rushing in anxiously. After carefully examining his minor wound and symptoms, they frowned and deliberated for a long time. After an unknown stretch of silence, they finally reached a conclusion. "Shock to the sacred body has caused disorder of qi and blood. We will prescribe treatment. His Majesty must rest and recover while we observe further effects." Translated into simple terms, Li Jingye had lost his memory. A memory loss that concerned only me. Seeing the situation was serious, and with my permission, the physicians wiped their cold sweat and withdrew in a hurry. My father looked at me worriedly, as if he wanted to say something but held back. I shook my head at him. He sighed, slowly turned, and left. I never imagined something so bizarre would happen to Li Jingye. He kept sneaking glances at me out of the corner of his eye. His gaze was filled with unfamiliar curiosity, and even a hint of excitement he didn't seem to realize himself. I had never seen Li Jingye express emotions so openly before. During the year since our marriage, he had always maintained the dignity and distance befitting an emperor when around me. We treated each other with formal politeness. If I took the initiative to help him change clothes, he would spring away like a startled cat, putting 3 meters between us. If I called him husband, he would immediately avert his eyes and stop me. If I smiled at him, he would just stare back without saying a word. Later, I started giving him the silent treatment. Li Jingye probably had never been treated that way before. He got so angry that he would stand in front of me with a cold face and practice swordplay. After finishing, he would ask if I was still angry. Unfortunately, I'm the type who softens to gentle approaches but resists hard ones. I thought he was threatening me, so I ignored him even more. Then I overheard him muttering under his breath, calling my father an old fox and saying he had tricked him again. All signs pointed to one fact. He truly didn't like me. He had only married me to win my father's support and solidify his absolute power in court. So seeing this, Li Jingye, who now fell into complete panic over a single tear of mine, my sense of grievance was replaced by a new, unfamiliar emotion. It was like finding some rare oddity on the road that could perform backflips on its own. A little amusing and also a little tempting to tease. I raised my hand and gently pressed a handkerchief to the reddened corner of my eye. So that's how it is. Your Majesty's health is what matters most. If you've lost your memory, then so be it. Li Jingye's eyes lit up. You don't blame me? I lowered my gaze, my voice carrying just the right hint of a sob. Blame you? Why would I? Your Majesty merely bumped your head and forgot a few unimportant people and matters. The physician said rest is all you need. I deliberately emphasized the words unimportant people. His handsome brows twisted into a knot. That face, so pure and sincere after losing his memory, was filled with guilt and unease. That definitely wasn't my intention. He looked at me and softened his tone. Empress, give me some time. I'm sure I'll remember you. I lifted my moist lashes. A monarch does not go back on his word? A monarch does not go back on his word. I gave him a faint smile, my red lips curving slightly into a dimpled grin, eyes crescent-shaped. Li Jingye looked at my smile, and once again fell silent. Suddenly, a thought popped into my mind. He's staring because he's completely captivated by me, isn't he?
4.
After returning to Fingyi Palace, my personal maid Fingyi helped me remove the heavy ornaments from my hair while looking at me worriedly in the mirror. Your Majesty, the Emperor has always been diligent and rarely steps into the inner palace. She chose her words carefully, deliberately avoiding the word cold. Now that he has lost his memory of you, will he become even more? She didn't finish the sentence. But I understood what she meant. In the past, Fengye's worries would not have been unfounded. But now, as night fell, I hugged a soft pillow in my arms and pushed open the door to the eastern side chamber of the Hall of Diligent Governance. Candlelight flickered, stretching out Li Jingye's silhouette as he sat with his head lowered, reviewing memorials. Your Majesty, I called out, my voice as gentle as a mountain stream, soft, flowing, and pleasant to the ear. It's late. Time to retire for the night. My tone was so natural, as if I reminded him of this every evening. Li Jingye's hand, which held the vermilion brush, froze. A full drop of red ink fell onto the desk and spread into a glaring crimson blot. He looked up in shock, meeting my smiling eyes. Retire for the night? You and me? Tonight? Of course, I said, gently placing the pillow on the inner side of the bed. Your Majesty has forgotten, but normally you sleep with me every night. You once said you can only rest well that way. I walked closer to him until the tips of my embroidered shoes nearly touched his dragon-patterned boots. Looking up at him, I said slowly and clearly, word by word. You said that yourself. Huh? Li Jingye was utterly stunned. The harder he tried to remember, the more confused his expression became. Would I say something like that? His voice trembled at the end as he questioned himself. No, you wouldn't. I answered silently in my heart. But my expression remained perfectly calm as I raised my sleeve and smoothed the wrinkles at his collar, my fingertips lightly brushing past his Adam's apple. Not only that, you also love holding me while you sleep. The lies rolled more smoothly off my tongue with every word. Hearing this, Li Jingye's pupils shrank sharply, as if he had just heard something completely absurd. Then his shock quickly turned into embarrassed disbelief. His refined, handsome face instantly flushed red, spreading all the way to his ears and neck. Holding you to sleep? It was as if his own words burned his tongue. His voice cracked, trembling with incredulity. I actually did something so. He stammered over the word so for a long time, seemingly unable to find a phrase that could both preserve imperial dignity and accurately describe such shameless behavior. In the end, he could only squeeze out 4 stiff words through clenched teeth. Utterly improper. Your Majesty thinks that is improper? I tilted my head slightly, my autumn water eyes filled with innocent confusion, my fingertips lightly grazing his tightly clenched fist. But such intimacy is the most ordinary tenderness between husband and wife. I leaned closer to him, so close that our breaths intertwined. From this distance, I could even clearly see my own reflection in his slightly widened pupils beneath his thick lashes. Dark brows like distant mountains, bright eyes like autumn waters, a graceful nose, lips as delicate as newly bloomed cherry blossoms. Suddenly, the candle flame popped and flickered. The small sound jolted Li Jingye back to his senses. He hastily retreated 3 steps. With a loud clatter, the stack of memorials on the desk was swept to the floor by his wide sleeve. I looked at the distance that had opened between us. Lowering my gaze, I let out a soft sigh. My long lashes cast a faint shadow beneath my eyes. So now you won't even let me touch you anymore? My voice was full of hurt. Li Jingye glanced at the mess on the floor, then looked away, but upon seeing my aggrieved expression, his Adam's apple bobbed heavily. Empress, that's not what I meant.
Don't misunderstand.
It's just that I can't process everything so quickly. I need a little time to adjust. And how long is a little time? I pressed. A 10-day period? Li Jingye asked tentatively. I pressed my red lips together and stared at him with misty eyes, saying nothing, looking every bit like a pitiful figure one couldn't help but sympathize with. He didn't even last 5 seconds before surrendering with his gaze. 5 days. Is that all right?
5.
However, thanks to my efforts, Li Jingye had already completely adapted to my presence in less than 5 days. Fengye, having witnessed the entire process, once again tried to persuade me anxiously. Your Majesty, please take it easy. All those things you've coaxed the Emperor into doing these past few days, once he regains his memory, will be in serious trouble. I put on an innocent face and asked, have I done anything particularly outrageous? Fengye began listing them one by one. You told the Emperor that you loved the almond pudding he personally made the most, that it tasted wonderful. He believed you, and went to the imperial kitchen to make 2 portions for you. 2 portions burned black as charcoal. And yet Li Jingye still leaned over eagerly and asked me, is it good? Leaving me in a dilemma, unable to swallow, yet unable not to. That one was my miscalculation. I ended up hurting myself. You also kept tricking His Majesty into admitting whose portrait he had hidden in a secret compartment. After hearing that, he turned the entire side chamber upside down searching for hidden spaces just to find the answer for you. I sighed in disappointment. But he didn't find anything, did he? And you told him he loves you desperately, can't be apart from you for even a moment, and that he insists on bringing you along even when he goes hunting. What about that? I looked toward the distance, at the spirited man on horseback. I just wanted to get out for a walk, so I mentioned it to him. Hearing my words, Fengye felt her head grow twice as big. But she couldn't out-argue me. And since she was my maid, she had no choice but to help me along. She quickly walked up to Li Jingye and shamelessly lied with a straight face. Your Majesty, Her Highness says you miss her. She pointed in my direction. Li Jingye blinked in confusion.
Huh? Oh. All right.
I'll head over right away. According to Fengye's and my plan, once Li Jingye came over, we would continue instilling into him the idea that he was deeply in love with me. For example, I had been forcibly brought into the palace by him. I didn't love him at first, but he loved me to the extreme. Or, I originally had a childhood sweetheart, but because he was the emperor, a single imperial decree forced me to separate from him. From then on, once I entered the palace, my life became like a deep sea, so he needed to treat me even better to make up for it. Qingyuan, long time no see. A familiar male voice interrupted my thoughts. The tone was gentle and pleasing to the ear. I looked up, and my vision went black. The childhood sweetheart who was only supposed to exist in my fabricated story. Why was he actually here? Who is Qingyuan? Minister, who are you calling? Li Jingye rode over on his horse, circling around me protectively. Hearing Lin Xuyan's words, he asked in confusion. Qingyuan was my courtesy name, but I hadn't told him that. And in this situation, it wasn't exactly appropriate to explain. Now it was just a matter of seeing whose courage was greater, who would dare to clarify the truth. My father charged over like a galloping horse, shouting at Li Jingye. Just tell me, are you planning to depose my daughter again? Li Jingye. Me. I suddenly wondered, was the position of Prime Minister decided purely by who had the thickest skull? Li Jingye dismounted and walked to my side, loosely circling an arm around me. The man who had been so shy in front of me moments ago instantly turned sharp and alert after hearing my father's words. His gaze swept over Lin Xuyan from head to toe. You do know my empress? He didn't even bother calling him my dear minister anymore. The atmosphere instantly turned tense. I spoke up to break it. Your Majesty, aside from you, everyone present here knows me. Li Jingye's spine, which had just straightened with authority, instantly bent a little. His momentum weakened. I exchanged a glance with Fengye, and she immediately understood.
Clear the scene. Time to act.
Li Jingye grumbled unhappily. I haven't even called you by your courtesy name, so how can he address you so directly? Hearing the blame in his tone, tears began to fall from my eyes one by one. Empress, no, Qingyuan, I didn't mean it that way.
Don't cry.
Over the past few days, I had made an important discovery. As long as I cried, no matter how stubborn Li Jingye was, he would immediately soften. It was I who overstepped, Lin Xuyan said, withdrawing his gaze from me and bowing respectfully to Li Jingye. I wiped away my tears and signaled Fengye to help him up, then gently explained to Li Jingye. He is my sworn elder brother. We haven't seen each other for a long time, so in his excitement, he momentarily forgot proper etiquette. Li Jingye didn't quite believe my explanation and continued staring suspiciously at Lin Shuyan. But he also didn't want the man lingering in front of me for even one extra second. Suppressing his jealousy, he waved a hand at Lin Shuyan, signaling him to leave. To stop being an eyesore. I stopped him, my expression gentle. It's not easy to see my sworn brother again. We should at least stay and catch up a little. Li Jingye got angry. I let 2 tears fall. He agreed. 6. On the way to the banquet hall, an urgent message from the previous dynasty arrived. Li Jingye temporarily left with my father, leaving only Lin Shuyan and me. You little girl, always using me for your own schemes. A gentle yet weighty voice came from my side. I smiled and turned slightly to Lin Shuyan, replying warmly. Have you ever not used me in the past, brother? Don't worry, it won't be for nothing. If it works, I'll petition the emperor to promote you. Despite his calm, scholarly appearance, Lin Shuyan's heart was thoroughly cunning. He studied me for a long moment, then chuckled lightly. Then thank you, little sister. You're welcome. By the time we strolled lazily to the banquet, Li Jingye was already seated at the head of the table. Qingyuan, your father and I have been waiting here for nearly the length of a tea ceremony. I see you and him are having quite the pleasant conversation. I had just sat down when Li Jingye's vaguely reproachful words reached me. Following his cue, I nodded. Yes, very pleasant. Li Jingye gave me a reproachful glance, but I was absorbed in Lin Shuyan's amusing stories from outside the palace and didn't notice. Because of my indifference, Li Jingye grew angry at me, his first time since losing his memory. By the time I realized, it was already too late. Not skilled at coaxing, I simply brought a dish over to Li Jingye. Your Majesty, this is your favorite dish. He snorted coldly. I don't like this anymore.
See?
I really am bad at coaxing. Since he said that, I prepared to take the dish back. But Li Jingye pressed my hand gently. I didn't like this dish a moment ago, didn't you know? Besides, even if I don't like this dish, you've already offered it. How could you take it back? You wound my heart so. Do you think I will always love you the most in the future? Impossible. I'll love you just a little less. Why aren't you speaking? Realized your mistake? Fine, I forgive you. Put the dish down. Never mind, you stay as well. Me? The entire hall went silent. After a moment, my father gave me a thumbs up. Lin Shuyan's gaze froze on Li Jingye holding my hand, speechless. Fengye went full oars. Your Majesty, what have you done to the emperor?
7.
Honestly, I was a bit stunned myself. All I had planned was to switch the dish, since Li Jingye didn't like it anymore. How could he react so strongly? After the banquet, I carefully pondered and reflected. Fengye, do you think it's still possible to come clean now? After the initial shock, Fengye actually became calm. Come clean about what exactly, Your Majesty? About coaxing the emperor to say he loved you so much before losing his memory? Or about coaxing him that he needs to hold you every night to sleep peacefully? Or maybe... Fengye listed everything, and I couldn't help but question. Did I really trick him this much? Yes, Your Majesty, and you... Stop. I couldn't listen anymore and interrupted her. All of it.
Can it still be salvaged?
No chance. You're so sure? Because the emperor has come to sleep beside you. Fengye stepped aside. Following her movement, I glanced out the window. Li Jingye entered the hall, holding a pillow. He caught my gaze, his ears tinged red, shaking the pillow in his arms at me. Fine, let's just keep coaxing. The first thing Li Jingye did upon entering was to place the pillow neatly on the outer side of the bed. Then he turned and walked slowly toward me. He took the comb from Fengye's hand, brushing my hair with gentle, practiced movements. The hall was left with only the two of us. I sat. He stood. The comb's teeth passed through my dark hair, making faint noises that seemed magnified in the silence. Our eyes met in the dim, bronze mirror. After a long while, he looked away first. His ears, flushed almost to the point of bleeding, were fully exposed in my line of sight. The enticing crimson spread from his earlobes to the side of his neck, looking particularly fragile in the candlelight. It stirred my mischievous side. I swiftly raised my hand without hesitation, my fair fingers deftly winding around the jade belt at his waist. A tug. His body stiffened, completely unprepared for my boldness, and he stumbled slightly closer to me. Through the thin night robe, his warm chest nearly pressed against my back. He instinctively braced against the edge of the dressing table to steady himself. "Empress, what are you doing?" Li Jingye asked softly. But the question sounded powerless, almost like preemptively allowing me to take the next step. I curved my lips into a smirk.
Guess.
My gaze slowly climbed, stopping at his lips, slightly pursed in tension. My fingertips traced up his chest to his shoulders. Using them for leverage, I straightened myself, almost eye to eye with his bent-over frame. "I'm foolish," his voice deepened slightly, capturing where my eyes had landed. "I can't guess." "Can't guess?" I laughed softly, my breath brushing his warm cheek. I saw his lashes flutter at the touch. "Then why are you holding me so tightly?" He was momentarily at a loss for words, then justified himself in a low voice. "I'm afraid you'll run away." As soon as he spoke, I rose onto my tiptoes. In his shocked gaze, I pressed lightly against the corner of his lips. A touch and release. Li Jingye froze in place, even forgetting to breathe. Time seemed to stop in that instant. He stared at me without blinking. His gaze was too intense, too direct. I suppressed the flutter in my chest and feigned innocence. "Your Majesty, what's wrong?" After a while, Li Jingye seemed to regain his voice. His Adam's apple rolled heavily as he asked, "May I kiss you again?" His gaze locked onto me like a hunter locking onto prey, suppressing his most primal desire, waiting only for my nod. I said nothing. He took that as consent. The next moment, his ears flushed red while his palm gripped the back of my neck in an unyielding hold. Step by step, he closed in, until our breaths mingled, and he claimed me entirely. At first, I led he was inexperienced in taking. Later, his body's memory returned, and he grew more confident. I became a defeated soldier, leaning back to try to evade his advances. He refused to relent, holding me upright, moving me forward to meet him. Completely consumed by him. "Let go of me." My trailing words were unclear, swallowed by his aggression. Mist veiled my moist eyes. And because he was being wicked. Finally, the villain pleaded with a pitiful gaze. "Just a little longer? I haven't kissed you enough." Me. "Very well. I've set a trap for myself. All right, everyone, things are about to get intense. You've seen the playful teasing, the stolen moments, but now, the stakes rise. Memory, desire, and secrets collide. Let's see what happens when past and present blur together. Stay close, this part is going to be intense."
8.
For half a month straight, Li Jingye, still carrying the scent of minced meat from his meals, waited on the bed for me as soon as night fell.
He wanted to hold me.
He wanted to embrace me.
He wanted to kiss me.
Even sleep was no exception. He held me tightly in his arms. Finally, I found a chance to distance myself, and it seemed I might succeed. He turned, extending his long arms, encircling my waist, pressing me toward him. A posture of absolute possession. He often did this before losing his memory. So now, I couldn't be sure, was this instinctive, or had he begun to recover his memories? To reassure myself, I summoned imperial physicians. I asked 5 of them in succession. All their answers were unequivocal. Not yet. Fengye told me I was overthinking. If the emperor really remembered, judging by his previous temperament, do you think?
Yes.
If he truly remembered, he would have coldly scolded me for deceiving him. To stop myself from imagining further, I went to the imperial garden for a walk. The flowers were in full bloom. My mood might have been lighter had I not overheard a conversation between Li Jingye, the Empress Dowager, and her niece. Your Majesty, you've been deceived by the Empress.
She tricked you.
The Empress Dowager's niece wore a bright yellow gown, looking charming, but her words were far from pleasant. Oh, and what exactly did the Empress deceive me about, Princess? Li Jingye sat in the pavilion, sipping tea leisurely, lifting his gaze to narrow at her. His aura radiated supreme authority. Princess Zhao flinched at Li Jingye's gaze, but glanced at the Empress Dowager for courage and continued. Your Majesty, you never liked Ye Qingyuan. Your marriage to her was forced by circumstance. And now, she takes advantage of your amnesia to toy with and deceive you. Truly a violation of imperial trust. I, on the other hand, have loved your Majesty sincerely since childhood. Qing'er, be careful with your words. The usually silent Empress Dowager finally spoke. She gestured for Princess Zhao to sit, then turned to Li Jingye with a kind expression. Your Majesty, do not take offense. Qing'er's nature is a bit headstrong, but she does not lie. The Empress has indeed acted inappropriately recently. Mother thinks I've been deceived by the Empress? That I'm so foolish I can't even distinguish my own feelings? Li Jingye asked, smiling faintly on the surface, but his eyes were utterly void of amusement. It is not my meaning, Your Majesty, only that the palace is empty now. The Empress's misconduct should be. Misconduct? He slammed his teacup on the stone table, cutting off the Empress Dowager. How has she misbehaved? Tea spilled over, soaking Li Jingye's hand. A close attendant hurried to wipe it, but he waved them off. Seeing him like this, the Empress Dowager's voice cooled. If I speak plainly, Your Majesty never liked her before losing memory. Otherwise, why forget only her? Standing around the corner, I heard the Empress Dowager's words. My eyes darkened. Indeed, why did he forget only me? As my thoughts sank, Li Jingye narrowed his eyes, his presence dropping sharply. Forgetting someone has no necessary connection to whether I like them or not. His voice was low but cut clearly through the pavilion stillness, icy and unwavering. I think the Empress is very good. Li Jingye's words struck the pavilion and then reached my ears. So formal, so straightforward. I lifted my head and met his dark, ink-like eyes.
Direct.
Arresting. I was certain. He had regained his memory.
9.
Not long after I hurried away, Li Jingye followed. I returned to Fengyi Palace. He entered with me. Then he strode forward, cornering me in one end of the hall. Empress, he said, holding out the hand scalded by tea. I burned myself. He bent slightly, his deep eyes locked on me. I lowered my gaze to his hand. Long, strong fingers with prominent knuckles. Veins on the back faintly bulging, now tinged with an unnatural red. No ordinary cup of warm tea could have caused this. He likely burned himself on purpose when he came in. I kept my expression neutral and met his gaze. Your Majesty, have you regained your memory? Li Jingye avoided answering directly, offering his injured hand again. Yuan, my hand hurts. But the way he called me Yuan revealed the answer. Before losing his memory, he said Yuan all the time. So familiar, yet his daytime behavior was often distant and rigid. When did it happen? Do you really not care for me? We spoke over each other, no understanding reached. I lifted my head slightly, looking him straight in the eyes. He leaned in, covering my eyes with his hand. Yuan, are you trying to settle accounts with me? My world darkened instantly, leaving only the warmth of his palm. Something like that, I said, pulling his hand away. During his amnesia, I did trick him a lot. But he also took advantage of me in return. Judging by now, he had probably been watching my antics for a while. This account had to be settled properly. Very well, Li Jingye chuckled softly. Yuan, first explain to me. Why did I abduct you into the palace? Why did I separate you from your childhood companion? Why did I love you but treat you poorly? Why did I confine you in Fengyi Palace, sharing the same bed nightly, daily affection? Each question drew him closer, his warm breath brushing my forehead. Even prepared, I couldn't help my ears from heating up. Lesson learned. Tricking an emperor might be fun temporarily, but the aftermath is a furnace. Especially one who is sharp, vengeful, and remembers everything. The consequences are severe.
10.
Do you like the almond custard I made myself? He asked, his voice low, scraping against my already sensitive nerves, word by word. Yes, that's good. My voice broke, failing to form a proper tone. He pressed tighter. I tried to yield to him, hoping to buy a little freedom. Really? Truly. I tilted my neck to avoid his closeness, tears blurring my vision, pleading with him silently to loosen his hold. But he didn't. He pressed even tighter. Not a single gap remained. The air was thick, like honey that refused to dissolve, and my breath had long been stolen. The tears I usually used to appear pitiful now escaped uncontrollably, rolling down in large drops and soaking the pillow. You've tricked me again, Yuan. He bent his head, warm lips brushing my earlobe, leaving a humid accusation. I wanted to resist, to retort, to bite him, but any words dissolved into tiny whimpers. All I could do was let him play with me. 11. This intense consequence lasted for several days, and I could no longer bear it. Fengye gave me an idea. If it really doesn't work, just pretend to be drunk. I thought it might work. After 2 cups, I was drunk. The intoxicating warmth filled the hall. I don't know how much time passed before the door creaked open gently. Familiar footsteps approached. He came closer, crouched in front of me, voice soft. Why did you suddenly drink when you can't handle it? I was too drunk to answer. He chuckled softly. Are you really drunk? I felt his fingers lightly brush my nose, a touch so gentle it felt like a feather, and I kept my eyes tightly closed, trying to keep my breathing steady, not letting him see through my act. He scooped me up horizontally, placed me carefully on the bed. I thought after this he would leave, but I had clearly underestimated his boldness. After helping me clean up, he lay down beside me, directly facing me, too close. Close enough that I could vaguely feel his gaze wandering across me. A gaze carrying tangible warmth, inching over my lips and nose, finally resting on my eyes and brow. I pretended to be drunk, but he, someone who had never drunk a drop, seemed more intoxicated than me, calling me over and over. Empress. Yuan. Madam. Occasionally touching my face, pinching my earlobe, rubbing my palm. I struggled to resist opening my eyes, unconsciously rubbing my cheek against the pillow, letting out muffled noises to pass it off. You little liar, he suddenly whispered. My body stiffened. I thought my act had been seen through. Then he said, haven't you always wanted to know whose portrait I keep in the secret compartment? Trick me once more, and I'll tell you. Each word he spoke felt like a stone thrown into the lake of my heart, rippling endlessly. Did he really find teasing me amusing? Bitterness and grievance welled up together. I buried my face deeper into the pillow. Silence lingered. He sighed softly, little drunkard. Again, he scolded me. You've always wanted to know whose portrait I keep in my secret compartment, haven't you? I'll tell you. The person in the painting. He paused, voice lowering, lost in a hazy memory. Made me understand for the first time what it means to be afraid to get close. Too close, and I'd startle her. Too far, and I'd neglect her. Worse is if her heart already belonged to someone else. His fingertips unconsciously traced my earlobe. Later, he chuckled softly, though the laugh lacked joy, tinged with self-mockery. I finally had the chance to keep her by my side, but I didn't know how to treat her well.
Dislike me.
He chuckled ruefully. My hand, hidden beneath the blanket, clenched tightly. Was he insecure? I could only clumsily try to attract her attention in the most awkward ways. Maintain the image of her ideal husband, hoping she'd like me a little. But I only pushed her further away. He brushed aside the hair covering my face and asked softly, Yuan, tell me, how should I treat you? I could no longer keep pretending. I opened my eyes, meeting him so close, so near. My gaze clear, with no trace of drunkenness. Pretending to be drunk? Li Jingye's pupils contracted sharply, voice tense, a trace of embarrassment and subtle panic betraying him.
Yes.
Pretending. I met his shocked gaze calmly, though my heart churned with complex emotions. Joy at knowing his heart, and grievance at having been deceived for so long. I paused, watching his jaw tense instantly, and deliberately softened my voice. Your Majesty, do you intend to punish me for deceiving you? Gentle, yet provocative. Li Jingye seemed caught off guard by my words. His Adam's apple bobbed violently, and the frustration from confessing his heart moments ago was replaced by embarrassment. He opened his mouth as if to speak a command to preserve imperial dignity, but under my steadfast gaze, he only let out a defeated sigh. His ears flushed bright red again. He avoided my eyes, turning his face away awkwardly, voice muffled. When did I ever say I'd punish you? For a moment, a subtle silence enveloped the hall. Only the crackle of candles and our slightly hurried breaths filled the space. His earlier confessions still echoed in my ears. I suddenly wondered, how does he see me in his eyes? And those portraits he secretly kept, what do they really look like? Once this thought surfaced, I could no longer restrain it.
12.
With Li Jingye's permission, I returned to the Hall of Diligent Governance with Fengye. He hadn't told me the exact location, only that my father knew. I entered and found him organizing memorials. Father, I went straight to the point, my gaze scanning every corner of the hall for a possible hidden compartment. Do you know where the Emperor's secret compartment is? A secret compartment? My father paused, then thought for a moment. I nodded. Isn't it just here? I followed his finger. On the bookshelf were two glaringly obvious large boxes. A secret compartment? I had the guards bring both down. I opened them one by one. Each contained portraits of me. From childhood to now, every single year. My father quietly walked over at some point, peeked in, and said in a muffled voice, Daughter, it's all my fault. If I hadn't been foolish back then and brought you to that spring banquet, this rascal wouldn't have, well, you know. But at least he truly cared for you. Every time you got angry, he'd come running to me like a headless chicken, asking how to make you happy. The sight of him, the story seemed to be going in the wrong direction. I asked slowly. So, when he danced with the sword while I was angry, that was your idea? I said you liked men a bit more masculine. My father's face held a small, proud smile.
See?
That worked, didn't it? He later told me you calmed down immediately. Calm down? I was clearly angrier than ever. Sensing my father's proud little expression hid more secrets, I asked, Father, do you know why the Emperor avoids entering the harem? You said it yourself back then, that if your future husband was someone obsessed with pleasures, you'd rather not marry. He overheard. I froze. I didn't understand. How could he have heard what I said at home? He was passing by, holding the woman's ring, asking me about it. My father snorted. I persisted. So, he's distant toward me? My father gave me a look that clearly said, What kind of question is that? Isn't it the type you like? Cold, aloof, reserved, and when someone clingy comes at you, you're indifferent. Remember? That Wong boy next door chased you every day as a child, and you were annoyed to death. I felt my mind go black. Really, my dear father. Side story. Male lead's perspective.
1.
I lost my memory, but I didn't realize it myself. That old fox, Prime Minister Yi, said it was because I did a backflip. I didn't believe it. I clearly remembered he was an old fox. Until he said my daughter was my empress. And others confirmed it. Only then did I realize I really had lost my memory. I hadn't forgotten anyone, only the empress. Logically, how much must I have hated her? No, I must depose her.
2.
I couldn't. No wonder she's my empress. Even crying, she looks so beautiful. Crystalline tears silently slid from her star-filled eyes. Fragile, stubborn, proud, all mixed into a contradiction of extreme beauty. Alas, I've upset her. When no one's around, I'll give myself a slap. 3. Online help needed. The Empress came to me herself to sleep. How can I flaunt this to the whole palace? She even hugs me voluntarily. Is this really the treatment I deserve?
I'm shy. 4.
The Empress said she liked the almond custard I made with my own hands.
Fine.
I'll make it immediately. I strode into the imperial kitchen, sleeves rolled up, asking the chef. Which one's the pot? Chef.
5.
I produced 2 pieces.
Black.
The chef said almond custard looked like that. The Empress ate happily. Looks like I succeeded.
6.
The Empress is soft, fragrant, beautiful, gentle. I'm so happy, spinning around.
7.
Happiness invites jealousy. The Empress has a childhood friend. And me? What am I? A bandit chief.
She said so.
She said I forcibly separated them and dragged her into the palace. If it had been anyone else, I wouldn't have believed it. But this is the Empress. My Empress. Before losing memory, I did well. The Empress asked me to promote that Lin guy to make amends. She truly has a kind heart.
Fine.
I am a wise emperor. I transferred him out of the capital to gain experience. A good official who works diligently. Within half a month, he got a flood of impeachment petitions. I joyfully read them over a dozen times.
8.
These days, flashes of images keep appearing in my mind. But why does it look like the Empress is so distant from me? Can I really restrain myself? I don't believe it.
9.
My father-in-law said Yuan liked a cold, aloof husband.
I tried to be that.
But now I've lost my memory. Yuan says I adore her. Every night, I must sleep with her to rest well.
You must hold her.
Unrestrainedly. Who says losing memory is bad? It's wonderful.
10.
Someone even doubts my love for Yuan. Ridiculous. Who wouldn't love their white moonlight with a mole? 11. Hiding my recovered memory was discovered. I feel a little guilty. But Yuan looks even guiltier than me. Then it's time to settle the score, isn't it?
12.
The words I had long kept in my heart were finally spoken aloud. My youth. My lover. My wife. All of it held within my arms. 13. Having hidden so many portraits of Yuan, if she finds them, will she think I'm a pervert? No, I can't allow that. Father-in-law, come quickly to help me.
14.
Forget it, you'd better not help. The more I hear, the more I feel like crying. A pervert or not, so be it. After all, Yuan scolds me every night. One more charge won't matter. Watching him forget, and then fall completely in love again, reminded me why stories like this are so addictive. Love isn't always gentle or obvious. It can be stubborn, overwhelming, even a little reckless. But when it's real, it leaves a mark on every heart it touches. As a creator, I loved exploring that, how someone can be lost to memory, yet still find their way back to love. I hope you felt that intensity as much as I did.